Test.
This is the button to turn the mic on. We're going to share one. What I'm going to do is give like an ag launch thing for like 3 minutes. Thankfully, you guys have mainly done it. I might ask each of you guys to just talk about your name, your farm, or your startup. They've already heard from you. And then
3-second warning. I'm finding your seats again, everybody. We're about to get started.
should we tee it up?
Yep.
Anything? All right, you all, we got 30 minutes to get through a lot before we adjourn. Really good to see everybody again. If you don't know, my name is Pete Nelson. I'm the Executive Director of Ag Launch. We're based in Memphis, Tennessee. And you all, if you've heard my pitch before, I've kind of addressed you all several times. Ag Ventures Alliance and your legacy with, I call it controlling your own destiny, building ethanol plants, being vested in your community, trying to figure out outlets for your products that are different or unique, has kind of bound us together since the beginning. I've been tooling around with trying to figure this out as a small farmer, and then as somebody working with specialty crops and then ag tech for 25 years. And Ag VA, as y'all have heard me say before, was the first entity that I didn't have to chase down to work with us. So this partnership that we now have built over the last 6 years means a ton to us. What it specifically means for startups is instead of just working with cotton and rice and our southern crops, we've been able to, over the last couple of years, to start working in 2 distinct regions, which has now led us to 5 across the country where farmers are working together. Now, this might, are y'all picking me up okay? Feels like, all right. So I'm gonna give you a couple just quick updates on Ag Launch, and then we're gonna punt to our panel. What we're gonna do to our panel is have a couple of Iowa farmers. I had a Tennessee one coming with me, but sun is shining and we are starting to roll. So everybody, I get to come and talk about farming while all my partners are actually farming. So I'm gonna introduce you to, and I've asked Dave Kraga, you heard earlier, was saying 247 to join us. And what we're gonna do is just kind of talk a little bit about the flavor of how we work together in field trials and some of what we're doing. So is that everybody good with that? So this is the premise I've been using, and I think that this really dovetails into what Spencer and Jordan said, and it really gets back to when this organization built the first ethanol plant. Is this going to be controlled by large companies, or are we going to have options? And as things have expanded and become even more complex, both on the complexity side and expanded in terms of opportunities, Jordan went through that whole map. And then as it actually is getting more consolidated than even when you guys made those investments 25 years ago, it's just an interesting space. And I kind of summarize it as you still have the 4 big grain companies. Now we only have 2.5 genetic suppliers, right, that control the feedstock side. And then as the tech world moves into this, the same problem consumers are starting to wake up to in terms of data, privacy, who owns what and why, how's it being used to game us or benefit us, and all those big questions. Those are even more acute in agriculture. And so we are fundamentally, as an organization, focused on how do farmers lead the way, working directly with entrepreneurs and bypassing those big companies. And we think that the jury is still out how the future is going to work and who it's going to benefit. And we're all 1,000% in on that being about communities, about young people having opportunities, and all those things you've heard me talk about before. To give you a sense of how acute this is, I don't even want to bring up anything that sounds politics or anything like that. But if you have not noticed, the weather has been changing. Doesn't matter who caused it for this discussion, but we have actually significant and real problems. And so quick geography, that little red oblong circle there is sort of our Mississippi Delta region around Tennessee. And I drove that 2 times in prime planting season last May, 2 times. And we actually, I think once we had about a ½ inch more than normal during that week. Maybe no time we had about a ½ inch. We didn't have much more water coming down, but the torrential nature and the timing one night what we'd normally get in 3 or 4 days. I drove that 300-mile loop across. I mean, that is the hills in West Tennessee. So you got good drainage, most highly no-tilled area in the country, over into the alluvial delta, flat, laser graded. There was not a planter moving 2 times in May on that drive. And I show that to show big need, massive capital assets sitting on the sidelines. Meanwhile, we as a group of farmers, you all and us, have invested in companies like you see Dave's picture of your deal. I didn't put this slide together just because you're sitting on the panel, Dave, but it works nicely, is developing alternatives that not only get a crop in the ground when we can't do it with conventional equipment, but owned by the people in this room, farmers. And so this is what we're all about, is figuring out how to do that. This picture already came up once. This is kind of our core Tennessee group, but just to give you a sense, we're trying to find not every farmer, but these are what we call the 2.5 percenters, the innovators. They're the same people big companies chase to do trials of new corn varieties or herbicide trials, or anything new, how to get them organized. And by nature, that innovative group are not just row croppers or livestock farmers or small organic vegetable growers or indoor aquaponic growers. They cross all of those lines because the innovator early adopter farmers in general are very curious, in general are very open to where the future is going to go, open-minded, and recognize the opportunities. I don't know, everybody's seen this curve. I think somebody alluded to this earlier, maybe Carl did. This is how every technology comes to market. Got the innovators. I'm dating myself here, but these are the Star Trek geeks that camp out at Best Buy for like 3 days to buy the new video game, right? If you probably know, and there's some in this room, if you're a 2.5% farmer, you're the person that's just pretty much willing to try anything new because you're intellectually interested and you want to be part of the future and be part of it. Everybody else follows that lead. And what we have an advantage of as farmers that nobody else in this ag tech space has is that farmers on this bell curve follow other farmers. They don't follow the Bayer sales rep or the John Deere rep. They follow what they see and what they hear. And I just want to make sure you guys are hearing this. We have an advantage over the big companies, not just for the capital investments you guys are making in technology, but our ability to do field trials, share data, and help scale technologies that you couldn't replicate unless you had a group of similar farmers. Everybody tracking with me? Got it? So just a quick annual report. This dovetails what Spencer said. We're a subset. Every deal we work on is a subset of you guys' deals, and those, they overlap really well. What I wanted to note on this is our small group of farmers, when we did our surveys, if you get about halfway down that list, have touched 6,000 farmers from our core group of 42. The things we work on have expanded to a large group. We're now right at about 3 million acres of the technologies that have come in the front door with us in terms of the ability to expand those and build those. And we're putting some job numbers and other really important things on the board. So I wanted to get that. And behind all that is the fact that our farmers own 14% of the companies that we work in. And I want us to think about that. Who's going to own the future? That's sort of the path. You guys saw, I love the membership slide, which was way better than mine, but where these members are coming from is our shared work together of finding other farmers that are innovator farmers in distinct regions, not that are the same as us, but that are intentionally a little different, have other types of crops, farming systems, circumstances, markets. So as we bring new technology to market, we literally now have the ability with what we've built just to date, and we're just getting started, that if you have a water sensor, we can try you on blueberries out in the Willamette Valley, rice down in Arkansas in the sort of laser level, and working with corn or beans up here. And you can take a technology or come and try it in all these different circumstances to grow. And just give you a sense of some of the other farmers that are in that 2.5%, they're different. They're not the same as what we're doing in Iowa, and they all complement each other. So groups like Lauren and her family nursery, they grew out 9 million seedlings. They've got an organic line, a non-organic line, and they're supplying literally Idaho, Northwest with a lot of their vegetable stock and a lot of their horticultural stock out of this family-owned business that is now in the testing network, trying new things with us. PJ Haney, he's farming in Chesapeake Bay in Virginia and in Arkansas. And as a group of Black farmers, which we don't need to get into that today, but believe me, that has been a hard road. in my part of the country, if you are a farmer of color, even access to land and capital. But they just bought the most cutting edge rice mill that's in North America and are producing rice. Y'all same playbook, building an ethanol plant, growing the commodity and adding value to it. And they're a member of our group, our shared group. And folks like Daryl, small, aquaponic, urban, he's expanding. But unlike if you've seen all these disasters, these big climate controlled, venture capital funded things are falling apart, he's systematically built out a process where now folks in urban areas throughout the South are starting to grow vegetables locally, and he's building the technology stack that builds on top of that. I think that's, most folks know Tosh. And I'll leave you with this one. Sarah Bellos, has everybody heard this story? I can't remember if we shared. I think AgVA has been participating, but literally she identified, we've all been doing biofuels. Some of us have been doing biochemicals. She identified that there was no natural source of dye for blue jeans. It was all coming from China. So not only imported, no jobs associated with it, real toxic process, but she literally took wild type indigo plants, got plant variety protection where she owns the feedstock, developed the technology to process it into dye, and is expanding as a replacement crop for tobacco throughout the tobacco region with this high value crop that she has a controlled market vertically integrated. So these are the kind of people, I just want to give you a couple examples that y'all are now affiliated with and AgVA members get to spend time with. And I think you guys understand what we're about. Unlike every other, and I think I have 90 competitors now that are doing this innovation work, they're all backed by big corporate, Cargill, Bayer. What we're doing is have farmers at the middle. Every technology we touch has been screened by farmers, down selected by farmers, and farmers have led investment decisions. And then as we're scaling the technologies, farmers taking equity for growing out and building the technology. So hopefully that gives you a quick update. And if you got any more questions about that, hopefully that's not super new to anybody because we've been at it here together for a little bit of time. So thank you all panel for accommodating the commercial. And what I wanted to do, starting with you, Joe, is just you guys just introduce, talk about your farm operation and then why you're even interested in messing around with a bunch of crazy people with technology and all that for a minute. We'll just do that, and then I'm gonna ask you guys some questions if that's okay.
So Joe Rao, I live just north of here, about 10, 12 miles up north of Plymouth, farm over by New Haven. Started farming in 2008. The farm I grew up on ended in 1997 west of Osage. So there was definitely a gap there. During the day to support my farming habit at night, I merchandise grain for one of the ethanol plants up in Hamlintown. I really was kind of hitting a rut in the mid-teens in doing the same things the same way, kind of like I was born and raised, and was told that there really wasn't a future in ag by my dad. I was seeing that. I wasn't seeing any progress. I saw a lot of work, a lot of frustration, and not very good results. And really started down this path with strip till and then cover crops. And that reinvigorated my farm, that reinvigorated my passion. And through that, at probably the largest stripper conference in Mitchell County, Mark introduced me to AgVA. AgVA then with Spencer got me introduced, Pete, and the Ag Launch Group. And I'm not afraid to try new stuff. I don't have anybody to answer to other than myself. So if it's odd, I don't care, I'll try it. And it just might be in the middle of the night with LED lights that I'm doing it, but so be it. So this opportunity, this innovation that we see here is what reinvigorates me and my passion for ag. I've always had passion, but I haven't seen a future. And with 3 boys, that passion, they might not farm themselves, but hopefully they have an opportunity to be involved in ag. And we see all the people with these startups and these companies. There's so many things in our community we can do with ag. So I guess that's kind of my backstory and why I'm interested. I'll try anything once. It might stick.
Good deal. Dave, we've talked a little bit about your company. Do you mind telling about your farming background a little bit more and your passion for, I guess, why you're into this besides being just a startup founder?
Yeah, well, I'm not a typical startup founder because of my age, I think. I feel a little bit out of a place when I get together with some of these founders. But so again, my company that we started is Salem 24/7. We're based in Ames, and we're focused on autonomous, small, lightweight equipment, starting with the planter. So I grew up on a farm in Webster County, Iowa, corn soybean farm. We had hogs growing up as well, but similar, my dad didn't encourage me at all to stay on the farm. So I went off to Iowa State. I got a degree in agronomy and then graduate degrees in economics, but I always wanted to go back to the farm, just didn't have the opportunity to do it. So, but I've always been passionate about farming. So, and I've been involved in a lot of different agribusinesses over the years, small, large, startups included, and always really wanted to get back to the farm. I'm still involved in a couple of farming operations. My family, very small farm, and then my wife's family in the Boone County area. So I've stayed active on the farm, and especially in the spring and fall. But you know, I've always looked at, okay, where can we make changes, make improvements in the farming operation, more profitable, more environmentally sound. So that's where, you know, I kind of focused on soil compaction and soil health, and okay, well, how can I help alleviate soil compaction and add value? And so that's where we came up with the idea of just lightweight, small, autonomous farm equipment. And so we're in early stage, you know, we're 2 years old. We had a prototype in the field last year. We've been involved in the Ag Launch program, accelerator program for the, we started in the fall, I guess, of 2021. I'll just say being involved in that Ag Launch program was unbelievably helpful. Not only that, it was a great experience. The people there are great. Really have a lot of close friends now associated with the Ag Launch group, and still continue to be involved in that program. We did do field trials through the Ag Launch program last year. We were on 4 farms in Iowa. 2 of those were Ag Launch farms. We went down to Tennessee for a couple of farms, and then we went to Kansas as well. So
And I'm going to ask you in a minute a little more detail
Okay.
on that too, and we'll get into kind of like how to execute those and what that looked like. But
sounds good.
I'd like to hear from David. And
Hi, Dave Dvorak. I started farming in 1981 when I was a sophomore at Iowa State. And I've always been interested in trying different crops, trying different things. One of the things that kind of changed my mind on stuff is I visited Brazil and Mato Grosso in 2002, and they had one farm that was 2 miles by 12 miles, and I'm going, damn, I don't know if I should be in commodity production anymore. So I actually got my farm ISO 9000 certified. I was part of startups on 2 different soybean companies, soybean oil companies, using low Lin beans and low sat beans. I'm an Ag Ventures member from a long time ago. I invested in the alcohol plant. And then I kind of lost touch with everyone. And a couple of years ago, I got a lot more involved and doing some exciting things. On my farm, I do white corn for Captain Crunch and grits, non-GMO corn for food grade alcohol, seed beans for a couple companies, and Plenish beans, which is another soybean oil that's more stable. The 2 companies I was involved with never end up making it. So I know a little bit about startups, and I got some very expensive lessons. Oh, and I've had an organic farm since 2002. So I guess I run the gamut, willing to try different things. And this is exciting. Really like seeing the new stuff and be part of it.
Hold on to the mic. Let me do a time check real quick. How much more time do we have for this? Somebody? Oh, I'm showing 3 here. Is this is it 3 o'clock? So we need to keep, okay, we're gonna hustle on along. What I want to hear about, let's just hold the mic,
Okay.
Dave, and come back, is just kind of, you know, what couple trials you worked on. And I want to make sure as everybody's kind of thinking about these farmers, what they're getting out of this. You know, the normal thing, we want you to try this new variety. We'll give you some free seed or whatever. The way this works is farmers are involved in selecting what we work on. So when Dave came in the program, he went through a whole for saline. It was not just like 3 folks in Ivory Tower somewhere going, oh, that seems cool. A group of farmers looked at what he was doing, decided they wanted to work on it. And then we brought it in the program. AgVA made an investment, Innova made an investment, and then we moved it forward to farm trials. And if you're a farmer, what you're getting out of it is equity in our farmer network. So the farmer network owns a little piece of these companies, and a farmer, for every bit of time you put in, energy, screening, field trials, you're compensated with being part of the pool. And we're truing up every year. So this is gonna have to be a speed round because it's 3
Sure.
o'clock. Sorry about that. Just love to hear like the challenges, what worked well, what didn't work well. Any advice if folks want to either be involved or know they shouldn't be, just kind of any thoughts on the process. And we're just gonna work back this way and then with you, Jeff.
Sure. I was working with 3 companies this last year, Saline 247, Sustera, and the Grain Weevil. And I think one thing about doing trials, a farmer needs to be very adaptable. I had to stop planting beans before I was done because I was waiting to do some trials. And one trial took days. But it's, you know, be willing to look at stuff and not know quite what to expect. But it's very interesting and exciting to me.
Did anybody have to tear your whole shop apart and weld anything or do a full build? We've had a couple where we had to like, oh, we're like assembling a robot right now, and that's a 3-day thing before we even get started. Did you have any of those?
Oh,
Or-
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Good deal.
So-
I'm gonna ask you, Dave Crock, just to kind of, you know, you execute in a couple of states. How did that work? How did it improve the business or not? Like, just how do you think about it?
Yeah, so we were on 7 farms. It was critical to be on those 7 farms. We did some preliminary testing in a little field by our shop, but you really learn when you get on actual farms. And so we discovered some problems that we had mechanically in particular that we've since fixed. But probably the real value, well, being on the farm was a value, but just it was amazing. This was a busy time for farmers, planting season. All the farmers we work with stop what they're doing, spend time with us, Dave included, and just interacting with the farmers, talking about their operation, how would our product fit on their operation was probably the most valuable thing, just spending time talking to the farmers.
And it was very gratifying. We did our field day in August with Dave in the field, just like you go to a big company and actually seeing the side-by-side crop. We're playing with his technology and the regular planting and just starting to see the benefits of the technology, but also our ability to kind of execute. And we had the right people there, investors that we're following on. So it's pretty powerful if this gets going. Is there anything else you want the group to know about the process with us or anything? Why?
I would say, you know, if you're a farmer that wants to get involved with the field trials, it's time consuming. There might be some surprises, but it's well worthwhile to get involved with these guys.
Yeah. And I like what you've heard from both, by the way. Not for everybody. It's a pain in the neck. So let's don't pretend. I just want to make sure, like, I've been sold a lot of things as a farmer. This is time energy, you got to be oriented to this. And what the commitment is like these companies you saw today. If those companies get a big hit, everybody's getting a check. That flywheel that Spencer said, if. So we're going to be transparent, but I just want to, it is not for everybody by nature. And Joe, if you don't mind rounding us out on that and just talk about your trial experience.
So I had Holganics last year. I'll have Holganics and Amplifier this year. The Holganics, it will be in 2 different spots, but you know, what I saw out of that was something that is not commercially available. And I saw enough results last year to try it on almost all my acres this year for corn. So it was significant enough. The data was there. But that also means in the middle of the night, it was 1 and 2 a.m. I was dumping out fertilizer into buckets, measuring it out, and then putting it back in the planter, carrying buckets of fertilizer for the next pass to the other end of the field, all by myself in the middle of the night. Yeah, sometimes I have insomnia, but it's worth it because I'm getting access to stuff that a big corporation would never give to a guy like me. I'm getting it years in advance. I'm getting to see if it works. And if it does, I'm also invested into it on the ground level. And as far as, you know, working with the companies, we're developing this and we're going to be better next year. I'm excited for Lauren to be on board. You know, some of these companies like Dave's, you've got on-farm experience. Some of these places really don't have that farm connection. They've got the idea, they got the technology, but they really lack that on-farm connection. So if you're going to be doing this, I would say be willing to work with them and help them out. So in my case with Holganics, you know, I was like, okay, how do I want to trial this across 5 different soil types? I'm going to do replicated strip trials across skip pass and develop a data set with data that isn't just a single pass or a block, but actually has comparative data that we can actually use and they can use to make better informed decisions. So if you've got that type of mindset and like to dump 5-gallon buckets in the middle of the night, it's for you.
There you go. Perfect. Nothing else needs to be said. I'm going to punt this back to Spencer. Thank you all for taking time to do that and just give a few comments. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. So we promised to give away a few items for to bribe you all to stay to the end of the day. So we've done we've drawn for everything except for the Soil Warrior so far. So I am gonna just kind of scout the audience for somebody honest looking to come up and draw for the Soil Warrior. And Don, you're it. Okay, so we're going to start with the Chop Local gift card first. This is for the people who remained online. It is a $250 gift certificate to Chop Local, and our winner is Philip Hanna. So Philip, that's muted with your camera off. We hope you're there. Our next drawing was for Evoya. This is a biostimulant product, went through the most recent egg launch cohort. And our winner for that was Luke McCabe. And Luke, your basket is over there to pick up. The Holganics drawing, I think this is 40 acres of their new Breakdown 800 product, is Alan Johnson. Oh, and that's a refrigerated product, so they'll have to coordinate delivery for you. Then we've got a yard and garden bundle that includes seed sheet, recently pitched the Countryside Angels Group, and Finite Fertilizer, a portfolio company of ours. And the winner of that product is Cheryl Erb. All right. Kathy found a really good family prize here. It's a annual membership to the zoo in Des Moines, plus Living History Farms, plus the Science Center. And the winner of that is Tana Moritz. And then we've got a gift card for a progressive dinner that sources all local ingredients from local farmers at Taste in Osage, and the winner of that is Rusty Schmidt. We have a jump starter and case. It's one of the small, newer ones, lithium-ion battery. Big fan last year. The winner told us to make sure to give another one away this year. And the winner of that is Roger Kadolf. And then we've got a home and kitchen basket. Kathy would have to tell us what's in that, but the winner is Kim Plagencool. And we have a charcuterie basket, which sounds like a good afternoon snack. And Dixie Jobgen is the winner of that. All right, the final item is a season's use of a Soil Warrior machine. They'll work with you to find the right row unit, dry fertilizer configuration on that.